Go ahead. Make my day.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Nerdy Harry channel. I'm Anthony.
I am Joey.
Wow, we are back, Joey. It's been a while, but so goes the ways of life.
I finally dug out of that hole that guy had me buried in.
Yeah. So basically, what you were doing is what, Joey? You were doing a lot of traveling, correct?
Yeah, I was doing a lot of traveling and
for your job, obviously.
Yeah, well, I was kidnapped. Let's just be real here. I was kidnapped, and this crazy guy had me down in a well for a while. You know.
But you climbed your way out. You were like Bruce Wayne in The Dark Knight Rises. You climbed out of there.
Climbed out finally without a rope. It was scary. It really was. But I'm back. I'm better than ever. I've learned from it, and hopefully, maybe it won't show too much through as far as the despair I was in.
No. It's good to be back. It's good to be doing this again. I've been busy as well. Just with family stuff, kids baseball and yada, yada, yada. But the good news is we're back and we are doing, we're going to try to start doing different things with the show. In the past we've kind of had formats and there's nothing wrong with that. And there still may be episodes where we do that, where we're talking about news and latest goings on. And I don't know, Joey, you might have some things you want to talk about tonight, but our main theme for tonight is our favorite 90s movies, not the best 90s movies. These are our favorite 90s movies. Some may surprise you. Some may surprise each other. I don't know Joey's. Joey's doesn't know mine. But I'm intrigued to hear what he's got to say, because some of them I think I may know, but then again, I could be completely wrong. So you excited to do this, Joey? Was this hard for you to figure this out?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's 30 movies that could be considered for this. And, I'll be honest, my list probably isn't it's not what I wanted it to be, really. But then I had to really think about what would I consider the top 10. There's a lot of different reasons. And I'll admit they may not be my quote unquote favorite movies, but I feel like what they were in the 90s is why I have them in my top 10. Because there's a lot of movies that are just tied for the same thing, I mean? So.
Okay, yeah. See, I went more for, because I was stuck between, are they my favorite movies now, or were they my favorite movies back then? That was a difficult thing.
That's kind of what I did too. Other than maybe just one or two on my list, most of them were my favorite movies then, which is really why we watch those movies. It's for the nostalgia.
I get that. I was kind of the same way as well. I kind of went more on, no, these movies kind of had an impact on me. These are movies that I love to watch in the 90s, and that I can still watch now. Now, while I watch them, I mean, let's be real. I'll go and throw it out there. Like, Shawshank was not on my list, but I love watching Shawshank Redemption right now. It's one of my favorite movies that I could watch anytime it's on TV. Was it on my top 10 list? No, it wasn't, because it's just not one of my favorite 90s movies. I don't know if it makes sense. It's one of my favorite movies. It's not one of my favorite 90s movies. Yeah. So, but is anything you want to throw out there, Joey, at the top of the show here?
If you live in North Carolina, beware of the crazy demonic clown that's running around right now.
Is there one, or is there a bunch?
There's been multiple sightings of a clown running to the woods and stuff. Now people are starting to wonder, they're making a new, I think, a mini-series of It, Stephen King's It.
Yeah.
And some people think this
I thought they were just doing a movie. Is it a movie?
Maybe it's a movie.
Yeah, it's a movie.
But anyway, now there's a big fan theory or whatever out there. This is just some crazy promotional thing. A friend of mine who lives in Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama, put on Facebook earlier.
Greenbow, Alabama.
He was like, "You've not heard any reports of clown sightings in North Alabama. Anybody want to take a guess why?" I thought, yeah, because he'd be shot.
I heard about that too. I guess it was about a week ago. I seen it on like Facebook top stories or whatever, and it's funny because it crossed my mind. I thought, hey, they are doing the movie, but no, surely to goodness it's not related to that. But I thought a couple years ago they had the same thing. I don't know if it was in North Carolina, but I had heard some stories about some people dressing as clowns and then going into the woods.
I mean,
I don't know if that's true, but
who knows, man? I mean, it could just be some idiots out there wanting them. Because
idiots
I mean, no
in
one's
the
done
world?
anything wrong. You know, they're just
Yeah.
scaring people more than anything. And of course, I guess that's wrong too. But they haven't actually physically harmed anybody.
I mean,
so.
let's be real. There's more stuff that's scary on TV than a guy dressed as a clown walking into the woods. As long as he's not bothering anybody, what the heck?
Absolutely.
Let him dress
Absolutely.
like he wants. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started with our favorite 90s shows, movies. Okay, Joey, you want to go first? Now, these for me, these are no particular order. So, are yours in particular order?
Mine is in order.
Oh wow, okay.
Actually
I'm going all over the place.
And I'm
so.
gonna start from the bottom up.
Okay. Do you want to do one at a time? You do one,
Yeah.
I do one.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's cool.
Let's do that.
All right. So my number 10
Okay.
on this list is from the year 1993. I was 13. Anthony was 22. And no, actually, you were what, like 15? You were 15, probably.
Yeah, I was 15.
Yeah.
On the break.
But something was brought to the screen that was so awe-inspiring and so amazing to a young kid that even though I don't care.
Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, Pulp Fiction. That was the year after, actually. But,
Yeah, that's right.
probably the biggest movie of that year, I'm sure.
Mhm.
But that being said, I just remember the excitement and just like I said, I was just in awe of this movie.
Okay.
Jurassic
It is
Park.
Jurassic Park. Okay, now before you talk about this, had you read, and how old were you when this came out?
13. No, I
13.
hadn't
So
read
no, you didn't read the book or anything
No.
like that. Now, have you ever read the book?
No.
Yeah, me neither. I've heard the book's even better than the movie.
Oh, I'm sure it probably is because they made it a kiddie movie. But
Yeah.
Michael Crichton does not write kiddie books.
Yeah.
He writes adult novels, and it's a lot different from what I've heard.
Yeah, I need to read the book. But yeah, Jurassic Park, man, that's a good one. That's.
And
I will tell you this, that is not on my list.
like I
So
said,
I'm
man,
glad you threw it in there.
I have a different viewpoint of
Yeah.
how I've got my movies
No,
on here.
no
I'll have a
problem.
lot of honorable mentions that maybe some of your top 10 will be on my honorable mentions.
Yeah.
They're
probably
ones
so.
that I could probably talk for 20 minutes a piece on.
Right. Okay, so Jurassic Park. What was the things that stood out to you most about the movie? Why did you like it?
Because it was the first time we had ever truly seen dinosaurs look real on screen. Now, yes, today, if you keep up with science, we realize that,
What about Carnosaur 3?
yeah, I know.
That was-
Yeah, I think that was probably after.
That was one of those Gilbert Godfrey up all night movies.
Yeah, exactly. It came on like sci-fi at 1 o'clock in the morning or something.
Yeah,
But-
yeah. When it was SCIFI, sci-fi.
Yeah, it was
channel.
actually sci-fi. Yeah, it actually spelled it correctly. But, my thing was it was just fun to see the dinosaurs look so real in a movie, and it was a great story. Really, Steven Spielberg did an
Steven
excellent
Spielberg.
job.
That's really the big thing,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they did a lot of digital effects with Industrial Light and Magic, obviously, but they actually made real, animatronics. T-Rex. Yeah, I mean, it was just it was cool. It left you in suspense. I mean, as a kid, it scares you. My nephew's 5 and he's scared of it, but he likes it.
Yeah, and the T-Rex is to Jurassic Park for that time as what Jaws was for Jaws in
Exactly.
'77. So I mean, because it was something nobody ever put that time into making something that legit, that looked that real.
Again, Spielberg.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And so yeah, no, that's a really good one. Any other things that you liked about it that stood out to you?
Well, I mean, that's basically it.
Goldblum, that kind of skyrocketed him, though. You know?
But I mean, he was big from The Fly in the '80s too, though. You have to remember. I mean, The Fly, he got nominated for like an Academy Award for that movie or something, and that was a big cult classic in the '80s. Sam Neill, Jeff Goldblum, what's his name, the old man. You saw what I posted on Facebook
Spare
the
no
other day.
expense.
Was that not hilarious?
Yeah.
That dude looked
That was
just
great.
like him.
And he was also in the Santa Claus Miracle on 34th Street after he did Jurassic Park.
Yes, like the year after that or something like that. Yeah.
So thank you, Steven Spielberg.
But that's just why it's number 10. It's not my favorite movie of the '90s, really, like my favorite, but it deserves to be in my top 10 ranking just for what it did, and it's still a classic even today, and will be years to come.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's definitely a classic movie, and definitely one of the top '90s movies. I can't argue with that. Just critics alone would, probably put that in the top 3 in most people's categories. I'm going to go for I'll just say number 10, but, like I said, these are kind of all over the place. The Truman Show with Jim Carrey and Laura Linney and Ed Harris. Peter Weir, I believe, did that movie. It was in 1998, and the reason I love this movie is because, for me, I was a big Jim Carrey fan, and I was intrigued to see what he was going to do as a dramatic actor. And to me, he didn't disappoint. And he was still funny in it. He had funny scenes in it, but he didn't have to be Ace Ventura,
No,
you know.
he didn't have to
And
be goofy.
yeah, yeah. And now looking back on it, was that not a revelation of a movie
Oh,
for reality
absolutely.
television?
Absolutely.
And that's coming. That movie right there, somebody, it may be 30 years from now, but
Well,
that's coming.
They do it in smaller scales with like Big Brother and Survivor
Oh, yeah.
and all that. I mean,
Yeah, it's amazing.
Big Brother is actually that. It's just a very small scale, but it's that movie.
Yeah.
Because there's cameras everywhere. They can. I mean, now there's Big Brother up all night, where you can watch them just sleeping and doing whatever else you do at night. 'Cause I know their kids would probably watch this, but I mean, or listen to this. But I mean, yeah, I've watched it once, and I was like, they're just sleeping.
Yeah, and and there's people that are like have popcorn at 3 o'clock in the morning, going, wait, maybe they'll get up in a few minutes.
Yeah.
You know, but that's the Truman Show. That's is the genius of the Truman Show.
Yes.
That you know. Now I'll say this. Now they weren't the ones to go, okay, we see this coming. I mean, really, the Real World, MTV, and Cops were the first two. I'd say Cops first, and the Real World, MTV, were the first two that said, okay, hey, look, this is what you can do, reality television. But I love what Truman Show did. Not just on the story, but like I said, Jim Carrey showed range. He even got nominated for a Golden Globe, I think, that year.
Yes.
For it as well. So that's my number 10. You know, is there anything that you liked about the movie or didn't like about the movie?
I think the movie was excellent. I mean, I didn't put it in my list at all, probably because I just didn't think about it. But
yeah, and it was hard. Like I said, you're probably gonna throw some out there that I didn't even think about.
But I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, just the story itself is so captivating that, I mean, I remember watching it and I was like, I didn't know if I liked it or not.
Yeah.
It was a movie.
I could see how that would have that kind of effect on people.
Yeah, well, it was different for Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I didn't really understand it because I was like, okay, so nobody ever really do that. But yeah, you're right. Now, 20 years later, almost.
Yeah.
Because that was like, what, 98 or something like that?
Yep,
99?
98.
I mean, so almost 20 years later now, you look back and go, oh, yeah, that's like it is today.
And the best part about it is I went to the movies to see it because, like I said, I'm a huge Jim Carrey fan, so I've seen every movie that come out of his in theater back in the day. And I love the last line. Like, he's got everything that can be handed to him. His life will be taken care of. It's secure. You've got all this. And look, spoiler alert. Go ahead and tell you guys right now. If you've not seen these movies, be prepared. There's spoilers coming. And the fact where he says the line, that his catchphrase, and then he walks out and leaves it. That is so perfect, and I loved it. So that's my number 10.
Because he wanted to experience what real life is.
Exactly.
It's almost like, guys, you're listening to this on your computer, your tablet, or your phone, or in the car, or whatever, whenever you listen to us. But it's almost like the movie's telling you, guys, take 5 minutes and just put all that stuff away.
Yeah.
Just experience life.
Yeah, and that's another revelation to it too, that people get so caught up in everything that's on TV or a computer or whatever, and like after that ends, it's like everybody's like, well, what do we do now? And so,
well, is the game on?
Exactly.
I mean, I think it's hey, isn't such playing?
Right.
And they turn the channel and they move on, and that's what we do in real life. We just turn the channel, turn the page.
That's so true. Okay, so Joey, number 9. What do you got?
Number 9
for Joey.
Armageddon, 1998.
Oh wow, going a little Bruce Willis.
This is what I put in here. I got little lines for every movie I picked. I put just what the doctor ordered for the great summer blockbuster. The movie was not perfect. The movie did not make sense. The movie is so way out there, really, if you stop and think about it, that would never be able to happen. Kind of, sort of, maybe it could in the future. I mean, I do know that NASA really does actually do research and plan for stuff like that, but not in that fast of a time period. It could never happen.
What made you like the movie so much?
It was just great, man. It was just fun. You just went to the movies with your buddies or your girlfriend or whatever, and you just ate popcorn for 2 hours and watched Ben Affleck stumble through his lines and watch what's her name?
Liv
Tyler just be hot and be her, and Bruce Willis be Bruce Willis, and you get to finally see him cry for
Let me ask you something. Did you cut some onions at the end of that movie?
Cut some onions? You know what? It's pretty rough, man, because when Bruce Willis starts crying, you're like, oh my God, Bruce Willis is going to die. No movie, he'd never cried in a movie before that, and he had never died in a movie before that. and he was at the top of his game when Armageddon came out.
Mm.
It had a great soundtrack. I mean, Aerosmith did great work on that. Plus,
Yeah, that was definitely at the height. That's right before Aerosmith started to go back.
That was
to oblivion.
Yeah, that was their. That
Yeah.
was it. That was the pinnacle.
Yeah. What year was that?
1998.
98. Wow, Singers Truman Show. Okay.
It was. So I mean, it was a. I just enjoyed it for all those reasons. I mean, it was just a fun. Wayne, you know what? The part that makes you misty almost to me is not when Bruce Willis dies, and you know, right when he's talking to his daughter, you know, Liv Tyler.
Right.
That's sad. But what gets me is when they land, and they're coming off the plane, and what's his name? I can't remember what his name is, but his buddy, his son's there. You know, and his son comes running out to him, and he's like the hero now because his ex-wife wouldn't let him be around his son and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's great.
Yeah.
You know, now this guy, they've saved the planet. So, guys, if you having trouble with your lady out there, save the planet and you'll be all right.
You know what? Yeah, that's true. You know what hurt me about that movie though was because that was around the same time that Deep Impact come out.
I know. Well, back then
and they clashed, man. Like I mean, because I felt like both movies were good movies. I liked both of them, but I like the effects. I love like Deep Impact because I love when the ocean's killing.
I think
everybody.
Deep Impact's a better movie story wise.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
But it just didn't have the same. I watched both of them in the theater. But you got to remember, Hollywood loves to mimic itself, and so.
Oh yeah. We got like, one that's good.
Well, Tombstone and Wyatt Earp come out the same year.
Yeah, that's true.
True. I mean, and I'm a Wyatt Earp fan. You may have Tombstone on your list. I don't. I'm not a big fan of Tombstone.
Wait and see.
I like Tombstone. I can watch it, but if I had them on the TV and I had to pick which one I wanted to watch, I would watch Wyatt Earp every day and twice on Sundays over Tombstone.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. But I can't say nothing. I didn't have Jurassic Park on my list, so I mean, you know, I can't complain about Tombstone.
Wyatt Earp's not on my list, by the way. But I'm just saying, if I had to pick between the two.
Right, gotcha. Okay, so Armageddon, that's a good one. I'm gonna go number 9 for me, randomly. A River Runs Through It.
Brad Pitt.
Yes, Brad Pitt, Craig Sheffer, a Robert Redford movie. To me, which, you know, to me, this is my brother and I's probably our favorite movie next to Goodfellas.
No, that's not Brad Pitt. That's not Brad Pitt.
Yes, Brad Pitt, Craig Sheffer. Yep, they're the brothers that do the fly fishing in Montana.
Okay.
And to me, man, it's before Brad Pitt hit his Legends of the Fall kind of fame, because I think River Runs Through It was 92. I think Legends of the Fall was around 94. I think something like that.
Yeah, he did like Meet Joe Black, and of course he did Thelma and Louise, which made him a superstar.
Yeah. So to me, man, it's just a good, simple movie. It's and Robert Redford. To me, Robert Redford is just awesome in anything he does with acting, directing.
Yeah, his movies are always underrated, but if you watch them, it's like one of my favorite sports movies is The Natural.
Yeah.
And The Natural is a fantasy, guys.
What about Brubaker? Have you ever seen Brubaker?
I've never watched Brubaker.
Oh my gosh, man! To me, that's one of my favorite movies.
I mean, I've watched The Sting and stuff like that, you know, but I've never watched Brubaker.
Yeah, Brubaker's a good one. If you get a chance to watch that, that's based on a true story as well. Like, he really was a prison warden that went undercover as a prisoner.
You know what? Actually, maybe I have actually watched that when I was a kid.
Good movie.
It's got, probably watched it.
It's got David Keith, I believe, in it, who's from Knoxville. But anyways, so River Runs Through It is just sentimental wise for me. It's one of my brother and I's favorite movie. Just a good family movie, a good brother movie.
See, I didn't have a brother, so that probably is why I don't have that. But I mean, hey, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. It's just a good movie to me, and so that's my number 9. So Joey, number 8 for you.
All right, I'm gonna stay in the same genre. Just a couple years before that. This movie, in my opinion, changed summer blockbusters forever, in my opinion. And it created the term summer blockbuster. Okay? And, I mean, I know you can go back to the 80s and say maybe Top Gun or something like that did. But today's movies want to be like this movie now, and that's Independence Day, 1996. I mean,
I'd agree with that.
You know what I mean? Movies want the summer blockbusters from May to August, September want to be like Independence Day.
Well, yeah, and Independence Day kind of kicked off that you have to have one good summer movie that everybody wants to see in July.
Everybody wants to go watch it in July.
Yeah, and so that is because that's a good one.
Like I was saying, same as Armageddon, only earlier. It's just great fun to watch. It had awesome effects for the time. I mean, it looked super realistic.
Another Jeff Goldblum movie. Will Smith.
It made him a
kickstart
super.
his career.
Bad Boys probably.
Yeah, I was going to say Bad Boys and that both probably were.
Bad Boys, I'll say, is on my
Well,
honorable
actually,
mentions.
was Men in Black after Independence Day?
Yeah, Men in Black was 97, I think.
Okay.
I believe 97,
Okay.
98.
All right.
But
What year was
96.
Independence Day? Wow, 96. It seems like it was 95 or something like that, but I guess that is about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Tommy Lee Jones. No, I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm thinking Men in Black. Sorry. But yeah, you've got Judd Hirsch, Bill Pullman. Always Bill Pullman, Bill Paxton.
Bill
always.
Pullman. I mean, Bill Pullman, man.
Yeah,
that
as
speech
president.
he gives today is president. I mean, even today still resonates.
Yeah, Randy Quaid before he went off the deep end.
Randy Quaid was great. You're great. He was great in that movie.
He's great.
He was great in that
Yeah.
movie. I mean,
I'm trying to think if there's anybody else in that movie that. Oh, Vivica Fox.
Yeah. That was like the first movie she was ever really in that was a starring role type deal.
Yeah, that's true.
That I remember her in.
Yeah, so that was a good call on that one. Another good, like you said, the 1990s blockbuster movie.
Yes.
I mean, even over Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Because that was the movie where they go, okay, now we push this movie. We push and push and we shove it down their throats with commercials and everything. So, yeah, I would agree with that. Definitely. What was your movie line from that? Did you have a movie line? You said you had a movie line from each movie?
I just said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd say number 8 for me. I'm gonna say Heat with Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Michael Mann movie. I love that movie. It's just a good. Okay. Pardon me, ladies, for saying this. It's just a good guy movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you can be a woman and enjoy this movie, obviously, but it's just one of those, TBS used to have guys for guys movies. But I read today about Heat is that story is actually based off a Chicago cop who was a friend of Michael Mann's. And Neil McCauley, I believe, who is Robert De Niro's character, there actually was a Neil McCauley. And the Chicago cop actually did have a run-in with the guy he was after at a dry cleaners. And he actually asked him for a cup of coffee. And they went and they knew who each other was. So that actually happened. Wow, is that not cool?
That is pretty cool.
That is awesome. And they put that scene in there. Obviously, they met in different circumstances on the highway is when Al Pacino was behind him. But that was just so cool that really happened, that you run into the guy you're after, you're very aware of who each other is. And now, so anyways, and Val Kilmer is awesome. Yep. Ashley Judd, who else? Tom Sizemore, Danny Trejo, I can't ever remember how to pronounce his last name. That's sad. But anyways, I love Heat. Heat is one of my favorite 90s movies. And so there's mine. So what do you got next, Joey?
All right, number 7 from 1994, Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, yeah. See, I was going to put that on my list, but I didn't.
It's good we don't have everything the same.
Yeah, absolutely. So go ahead. Tell me about Dumb and Dumber.
I mean, like when it first came out, I remember, and I was only just a kid, I remember this, but I thought, man, how original a movie is this? How funny is this? Nobody had ever done that before.
Gross.
Yes,
gross
it was
humor.
Gross humor. I mean, the Farrelly brothers just went above and beyond. But yet it wasn't overly gross, I guess. Maybe that's the wrong term. It was just awesome, man. I mean, to see someone like Jeff Daniels just go total stupid.
Yeah, I think that was the thing that appealed to most people was the fact that you knew Jim Carrey was going to be outrageous and insane.
If you knew him from in Living Color, you knew he would be crazy. And from Ace Ventura, it came out right before that too, I believe. If I'm not mistaken.
Sure did. It was before that.
So you knew he would be great, but then you see Jeff Daniels, and you're like, man, he's great too, And then of course Lauren Holly was good in it.
And that was it. I mean, Jeff Daniels and Jim Carrey was all that was in that movie. I mean, there was a bunch of kind of no names and
secondary
B actors and stuff in it, but and how about the Farrelly brothers to go? Let's get Jeff Daniels to do this. I mean, that's a huge risk.
I read something one time that Jeff Daniels, they requested him to come in and read for it. And he's like, why would I want to read for that?
You want me to do that?
And they're like, no, we want to see what you can do. They're like, we need someone to come into this movie who no one expects. And we've always loved your work. We want you to read for it and just see what you think. And he read for it. And the longer he read, he did like 3 or 4 scenes.
Did he do the toilet scene?
I don't think he. I don't think he did the toilet scene. There's two of the best toilet scenes ever are in Dumb and Dumber. The Jeff Daniels one and the Jim Carrey one when the trucker, the hockey player who's playing the trucker.
I just love when he's taking a whiz and you hear
Yep.
You can hear he's hitting it and he's not hitting it. He's like,
He's like, what time is it?
he's got that sleepy face too. Like,
I know. He gets up on the toilet hiding, and the guy starts shaking the door.
And lo and behold, it's sea bass.
It's sea bass.
I mean, that was
sea bass.
That was so great. What year was that?
1994.
94. Wow, that's
22 years ago.
Wow. Okay, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and throw this one out there because this is 94 also. Ace Ventura.
Yes.
I mean, I'll tell you for me, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Jim Carrey is my biggest comedic influence. And I remember seeing him on In Living Color and like I knew that this is what I wanted to do. Comedy is what I wanted to do because of this guy. And when I found out he had a movie, coming out, and I remember seeing the previews, and I was telling my mom, I was like, "You got to take me to this movie. Drop me off. Me and my buddy would go, because I wasn't old enough to drive yet, or maybe I was close. No, I was 16, but I didn't have a vehicle, so I was like, "Yeah, Mom, you got to take me to this." And so I don't care to say that I'm 16, didn't have a car, so
I didn't have either. I mean, it took me a few months to get one.
And so, anyways, I remember she dropped me off to see this movie, and I had no idea what to expect. I knew it would be kind of crazy because Jim Carrey was crazy on Living Color. And man, that whole movie, that's the only movie to this day that's the hardest I've ever laughed in a movie. And
it was hard not to put it on my list, but I just didn't want to do I didn't want to do 3 or 4 comedies on my list because there's so many other good movies.
Yeah.
And so I just took the pick of my 2 favorites. And so you took your favorite, and I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
Because I love them
that
both.
Worked out. And it was hard for me to decide between the 2, but I just knew that.
Laces out, Dan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And did I have Dan Marino?
Oh, yeah.
In there? That was, for him to kind of go all out and do that, that was awesome. I love Ace Ventura, so it is definitely on my favorite 90s movies of all time. All right, Joey, what you got next?
All right, so number 6, I've got from the year 1995. One of my probably a movie that I can watch over and over again. It doesn't matter any time. And from here on, most of these movies I can, for the most part. Okay. Well, a couple of them I can't, but because they just are self-explanatory why you don't watch them over and over. But this one I can. Apollo 13.
Oh, yeah. You know what? We just bought that the other night.
Love Apollo 13.
Great
Movie. And this is what I'll say about it. It's a great story, has great effects, has great acting, and it has a happy ending. And it has Ron Howard and Tom Hanks. What more can you ask for?
Kevin Bacon.
I
mean,
it introduces you to
Bill Paxton, Ed Harris.
Yes.
Who else is in it? Man, it doesn't matter. It's just a great movie.
I'm a history guy. Okay, I'm a history buff. I love history. I could talk for hours about different things. Whether people believe it or not, the space race of the 60s and us going to the moon was probably the greatest achievement of mankind.
Oh, yeah.
To date. Period. Maybe that and inventing fire.
Well, the electric cigarette.
Yeah, electric cigarettes.
For people that smoke.
But I mean, the space race really changed our world, okay, as a whole. And that story of Apollo 13, is the movie exactly like what really happened in history? No.
Yeah.
It's not. But people need to know who Jim Lovell is.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Lovell is a very, very important man in our history. He did a lot for his country. And he was on Apollo 8.
Yeah, but so did Tom Hanks, man.
Tom Hanks did a lot.
He's done just as much.
He did.
Most people, Jim Lovell.
I'm glad they picked somebody like Tom Hanks to play someone like Jim Lovell, though, because now people know who Jim Lovell is. If I say the name, I'd say 80% of people at least have heard the name. I'm
sorry, though. Don't you want Tom Hanks playing you in a movie? I mean,
Absolutely.
We've asked this before on Facebook, but, man, Tom Hanks can do any freaking person.
He has Sully.
I want to see Sully.
He has Sully coming out Friday.
He makes me want to go see a story about the guy who...
What I've heard is that the movie isn't great,
yeah,
but Tom Hanks is excellent.
Yeah, that's all you need to know.
They're saying Oscar bound.
Yeah,
he's already getting the Oscar.
It's not surprising. And Clint Eastwood is going to make a good movie. And by the way, I don't use electric cigarettes. Let me throw that out there. I thought, man, I probably sound like I smoke. Oh, okay. But, yeah, man, that's a great movie. We bought it the other night. Nicole loves that. I think she said that was her favorite Tom Hanks movie. So we were like, you know what? We don't have this movie. We need to get it. So we found it at Blu-ray at Target when we were in Nashville. And we watched it the other night. And we've been meaning to watch it with the boys because I know the boys Love that movie also. But man, really, I mean, Bill Paxton and Kevin Bacon, the way they both do what they do best is support. They're not leading actors. I'm
And they
sorry,
know
they're
that.
not. But they do what they need to do in that movie, and Tom does what he needs to do, and that's why that movie is so underrated. That's a good movie to throw on there. So.
Yes. Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, you need to let your boys watch that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I said, I'm just glad it tells the story of Apollo 13 because that's a story that people need to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a miracle.
Yeah,
They should have never made it back here.
It's insane. It's insane when you think
It
about
shows what you can do, what human perseverance can do, if you put your mind to it and work towards your goal.
Yeah. Well, it's just now if we could just land on the moon. I mean, if we can just get.
Well, let's just get into that for a second before we move
Oh
on.
don't do the Joey.
It won't take
Joey,
just a second.
Don't.
In 1960 or 61, I'm sorry, when President Kennedy said that, and he said by the end of the decade we will land a man on the moon. People were like, "Has he lost his mind? How are we going to do that?" And honestly, I don't think we land on the moon in 1969 if he doesn't get assassinated. I believe his death forged ahead that dream of landing on the moon and fulfilling that prophecy that he had laid out. Okay, because I think if he doesn't die, the world's a different place. I think a lot of things change in this country after that, and that was one of them. I don't think we land on the moon at the end of the decade if he's really alive, because it was just propaganda, guys.
Yeah. And I mean, think about how the actor felt that played the astronaut that was supposed to. I mean, like I said, I seen the documentary. I'm not listening.
I mean, Kubrick did a really good job.
Yeah, I know exactly. Kubrick, that's right. Okay, moving on. Moving on. Let's stick with the Tom Hanks Toy Story, 1995.
Yep.
Yes, it is a cartoon. It's a Pixar movie, Disney Pixar. I don't care. I love cartoons, and Toy Story is definitely in my top 10. It may be in my top 10 movies of all time because I love the movie. I love toys as a kid. I love the fact that somebody thought, it even crossed my mind as a kid, as a small kid, like when I was 15. What if these toys really do something when you're not around? I mean, I was maybe not 15, maybe younger than that. But I love that thought. I love that somebody thought of that. And then what do? You go get the two biggest movie and TV actors of the time, Tom Hanks and Tim Allen. And you get those guys to perfectly play the voice characters of these guys. And then you get all these supporting actors. I mean, it was brilliant. Love the movie. And like I said, it's probably my top 10 movies of all time.
As far as animation goes, and I'm going to think on this Toy Story like an adult would.
I don't go there.
No, I'm just going to look at it from more of an artistic standpoint. I mean, in my opinion, and of course, back then, Pixar wasn't Disney, guys. You have to remember that. Pixar was still Pixar at that point. But now it's part of Disney. But it's as revolutionary of a movie in animation as Steamboat Willie, because that was the first movie that was animated. Mm-hmm. Snow White, Cinderella, and Fantasia. In my opinion, those are the only other movies that can even be grouped together with as far as influence.
And Basic Instinct. That was a movie that really, yes. I mean, that one scene, the interrogation, I think we all know what that's about. Yeah. But no, you're right. It definitely, it's a movie that changed.
Everybody does that now.
Yeah.
The old way of animation is done.
Well, I mean, look at DreamWorks.
Yes. DreamWorks does the same thing.
$1 billion company.
And they do very good work.
Yep, absolutely.
But they'll never be Pixar.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, so moving along. Joey, we're in our top 5.
All right.
Let's do this.
Top 5. All right, now we get into the meat.
Mm-hmm.
From 1996, I have one of my favorite movies of all time, period, Mission Impossible.
Wow, Tom Cruise Mission Impossible.
It gave Tom Cruise, in my opinion, his best role he's ever had is Ethan Hunt. Okay? It's fun, nonstop action, had great visual effects for the time. It was a great story.
Surprise ending.
Yes, Brian De Palma did a great job with that movie. It's only one, believe it or not, it's only Mission Impossible he ever directed. But it was the perfect guy to direct that type of movie, in my opinion. Yeah. Because it was sort of a sleuth movie, action sleuth movie. It's what Mission Impossible is. It's changed a little bit as it's went on. I mean, let's don't talk about Mission Impossible 2, but every other Mission Impossible,
Every other one is freaking awesome.
They're awesome.
They're getting better. I mean, like it went like 1 way up here, 2 way down here, and then it was 3 like ascending back up.
Abrams kind of saved it,
Yeah.
and then 4, 5, and Ghost Protocol was great. Rogue Nation was excellent.
Rogue Nation was
Better than I thought could be.
Yeah, I'm pretty much just about assuming he's going to die making these movies for him doing his stuff.
Yes.
Now that he did.
I mean, he's going to become the old man. I mean, that he killed in the first one.
That's true. That's true. And wait, it is coming. You guarantee you, sooner or later, he's going to hand it off to the next big guy. Maybe Shia LaBeouf or something.
Because it is, somebody like that. Because it is his,
Indiana Jones.
It is his thing,
Yeah.
I mean, that's his movies.
And who would have thought, because I'll tell you something, after Part 2 come out, there's no one on this earth I thought there's going to be 5 of these.
No, Lord, no. I was like, please stop.
I know, exactly.
Make it stop.
Yeah, so that's a good one right there. Mission Impossible. Let's see. I'm going to go with my next one. Which one am I going to throw? Let's go ahead and throw out Tombstone. All right, so now Joey put Wyatt Earp in front of Tombstone. I'm going to tell you why I love Tombstone and why it's in my top 10 for the 90s. Doc Holliday, Val Kilmer. Okay, I think he's awesome. And don't get me wrong, Dennis Quaid, awesome Doc Holliday.
Val Kilmer's he's better. Though.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. It made the movie.
Yes.
And I'll go as far as to say that, what is his name? The guy from Terminator played Anthony. He's Sarah Connor's boyfriend. What's his name? Michael Biehn?
Yeah.
Who played, what's his name in Tombstone? The guy who he was trying to. Oh gosh, this is killing me.
The guy, the leader of
Johnny Ringo.
Johnny Ringo.
Yeah, I thought Ringo and Holiday owned the movie, man. I mean,
absolutely. Their little beef they have going through the whole movie. I mean,
that was way better than what was going on with Kurt Russell. And don't get me wrong, I don't mind Kurt Russell in the movie, but to me, you watch Tombstone because of Val Kilmer and Doc Holliday.
I mean, I watched for Big Nose Kate, but I mean, that's just me. Because I didn't see her big nose. I was like, why do they call her Big Nose Kate? She don't look like she has a big nose to me. I mean, I was thinking like, Steve Martin and Roxanne,
Daryl Hannah. Well, that's an old one. But yeah, I love Tombstone. To me, it's just one of the best. I don't know if it's top 3 Western, but it's pretty up there. Maybe top 5 for sure for me. But it's definitely one of my top 5 90s movies. So, and Sam Elliott, Bill Paxton, again, supporting role. Really underrated actor, by the way. And just so many people in the movie. Lowell from Wings is one of the cowboys as well. Ike is somebody. I've seen him in movies before, and I cannot remember what it is.
Is Stephen, what's his name? Stephen Lang? Is he in Tombstone? He plays
Is he Ike?
Yes, I think he's Ike. That's Stephen Lang, that was from Avatar and all that. Yeah.
Stephen Lang?
Yes, that's who that is. That's who I was thinking. I was like, he's in Tombstone too.
Good call, man. Yeah. Gosh, he's an awesome actor. And have you seen the preview, by the way, for the new movie he's got coming out?
The one he's a blind. It's out right now. It's been number 1 for 2 weeks.
Oh, really? See, I don't know. I
think it's been number 1 for 2 weeks now.
Well, he's got that girl captured or whatever.
Yeah, he's blind and
I didn't know he was
Don't
blind.
Breathe. Don't breathe is what it's called.
Oh, okay.
Because he can hear you.
Oh, gotcha.
He's blind. Yeah, if you see the previews, his eyes are like all glazed over.
Stephen Lang is like, that's mind blowing to me. Okay, so Tombstone is in my top 5. I love Tombstone. I mentioned to, who did I mention to on Facebook about, was it Adriana? Adriana? Is it Adriana?
Adriana, yeah.
Adriana. Sorry, Adriana. I didn't mean to butcher your name there. But I mentioned her about Ghost in the Darkness is another good Val Kilmer movie.
I saw that today. Yeah.
Have you ever seen that before?
Absolutely. That was a great movie, man.
Yeah.
It was fun to watch.
It's true,
It's
man.
a true story. They're in the Chicago.
Yes,
they're in
the
Chicago
museum.
in the museum up there.
So,
Yeah.
Adriana, if you're watching this, you need to watch The Ghost in the Darkness. It's a really good, and Michael Douglas is awesome in the movie as well.
It's a great thriller, keeping the edge of your seat.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Tombstone is my number 5 movie. And Joey, keep us rolling here. What do you got?
Number 4. 1999 was the year. I think it came out in the winter or something like that because it seems like it was cold when I went and watched it.
Okay.
Now, before I say the movie, I'm going to describe it to you. I've always been pretty intuitive. I can read into stuff. I like to My way my brain works, I like to figure things out ahead of time.
Oh, is this part of the trailer line, or are you just talking?
No, this is me talking.
Okay, I did. So I was like, is this the line they say for the movie? I was like,
No,
oh, no, Silence of the Lambs.
That's an honorable mention for me. That's a great movie too. But no, this is probably the only movie I can recall at that point that I ever watched that left me totally surprised at the end.
Okay.
It was just amazing. I was like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe that I did not see that coming. And no one does. And if they do, if somebody tells you they did see it coming, they're lying. Because no one I've ever talked to honestly has told me they saw the
Oh, I know where you're going with this. Go for it.
The Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
I mean, when you see the ending of that and she drops that ring, you're like,
yeah, that's a jaw dropper.
how did I not see that?
Mm-hmm.
Because then now if you go back, and I can watch it again, but it's not a movie I really enjoy watching.
Anybody that says they knew that was coming is a freaking liar. I don't care what you say, because now you've got in your mind that, oh, okay, because you're going to watch it a second time. Oh, yeah, I've seen that coming from a mile away. Shut up. You didn't.
No, you didn't.
None of you did.
It was brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
The way it was set up was brilliant, and it's right in your face.
I know.
But you know what they say? Sometimes you don't see what's right in front of your nose.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he did. He had him wearing the same clothes. He had him wearing the same things through. I mean, he only
well, what got me was brilliant about the clothes thing is they would take the jacket off sometimes.
He'd wear a sweatshirt. You know, I mean, but you never saw the back. You never saw that. You know?
Well, I think,
and like when he was trying to open the door, all you saw was him trying to open the door.
Yeah, what sold me was because when I look back on it, there was two things that sold me on it was when he's sitting down with his wife, and like at the dinner table, and then when he's sitting with his mom at the beginning.
Yes.
Near the beginning, you're like, oh, okay, well, they're talking about him and stuff.
But you never hear her talk to him.
Yeah. That's M. Night Shyamalan. He's not lived up to any of that.
I feel sorry for him.
Yeah, because he threw out the that's like throwing out Gone with the Wind and then trying to write another movie like Gone
you
with the
can
Wind.
never do it. By the way, while we're talking about we talked about Unbreakable before, Unbreakable for how you like it.
Yeah.
And I said I didn't. I watched it again the other night, and it's not as bad as what I remembered. So,
it goes good with today's superhero.
I think it does feel better now than it did back then. That's why.
Yeah, because it was before the whole kick of, I mean, the superhero thing. So I just think it goes good with today's movies. And I'll tell you another thing. I really love Signs. I think Signs is
Signs is my second favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie. I actually like Signs. I've even read theories that it's not aliens, it's actually demons or something like that. Because why would aliens come to a planet covered in 75% of water and knowing that they're allergic to water? And
it's a freaking alien movie.
Yeah, exactly. But
it is. I mean, and Joaquin Phoenix though, my favorite part of the movie in Signs is when he's watching the TV and he's like, I love him, he goes, vámonos, and he does it against the movie.
Yes.
And then that thing goes walking across the screen. I mean, like, literally, it's goosebumps. Even just thinking about it right now, that was just such a scene where you go, whoa,
because you've been waiting the whole movie to see it.
Yes, yeah.
You know, and of course you do get to see, like, because he's watching the TV and he sees it.
Yeah.
Like it's
you're there in the closet with him, man. You're
yeah.
watching. That's how good of an actor he is, too, by the way. But Mel Gibson, before he went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, I mean, just a great Kieran Culkin. What's her name? Is the little daughter?
I know her.
Abigail Breslin.
Abigail Breslin, yes.
Yeah, I mean, great movie, and how it all tied together at the end. Just a brilliant movie. But back to The Sixth Sense. That movie was just mind blowing to me, and definitely. I love when movies change movies.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that was one of those movies where everybody felt like, oh, you got to have your next Sixth Sense, but there's only one Sixth Sense.
There's only one, and there will always only be. And even M. Night Shyamalan has unfortunately figured that out the hard way.
Yeah, that's.
And I
true.
think he's kind of starting to accept that. Hey, man, it's better to be remembered for one great movie than it is to be remembered for none at all.
At least until he does The Seventh Sense.
Yeah, The Seventh Sense.
He's gonna start paying bills, like.
Yes.
What about these Seventh Sense?
Speaking of great alien movies, before you get to your number 4, have you seen you've seen the trailer? I put it on our page for The Arrival.
Yeah.
That looks cool.
Yeah, I'll tell you though, I went and read on Wikipedia about it because it's a book as well. The book sounds like it sucks. It sounds like it's a Gravity kind of movie with Sandra Bullock.
Really,
Yes.
really, man.
Because
I'll have to do that now.
I mean, just go, because I don't want to root for people that want to see it, but it's got a Gravity feel to it. I know. It looked amazing, and as soon as I seen the trailer, I was like, let me go see if it's a book.
I'm sure,
yeah. And so, sure enough, I did. I went and read it on Wikipedia, and I was like, yeah, I'm glad I read this first. Okay, so my number 4, A Few Good Men.
One of my honorable mentions.
Oh man, I love A Few Good Men. It's a movie that I can watch over and over and over again. I mean, powerhouse after powerhouse actors and actresses in it.
Any more?
Tom Cruise, Jack Nicholson, Kevin Bacon, Kiefer Sutherland. Gosh, man, that movie is just Kevin Pollak. I love him. He's a good supporting actor. I love him in Usual Suspects. But I love A Few Good Men. I love how Jack and Tom go at each other there at the end, because you think Tom's kind of one of those guys with his ego that he's not going to be showed up in a scene. But if there's anybody you're going to be showed up to, it's going to be Jack Nicholson.
Yep. And
And I love how like Tom's owning it, and then Jack owns him, and it's just a great
back and
movie.
forth.
A great courtroom. I love courtroom movies,
Yeah.
and that's just one of the best to me. And so I love that movie.
That was actually a play before the movie.
Oh wow, didn't know that.
On like Broadway, and actually Rob Reiner actually was like a producer of that. And someone said, "Hey man, why don't you make this a movie?" And he's like, "I just don't know if I could pull off that courtroom feel in a movie."
Oh gosh, he nailed it.
And they was like, "No man, go back and watch the Perry Mason movies, and you can do that, And he did that, and he's like, "You know what? I think we can do this if we get the right people." And he said, "I got to have Tom Cruise to play the young lawyer, and I got to have Jack Nicholson."
Do you know how much cojones that takes to say, well, if I do this movie, I got to have probably pretty much the 2 biggest stars in the world
At that time, yeah, especially at that time.
And so that's just awesome. I mean, but if anybody can do it, it's Rob Reiner. So, but yeah, so there's mine. There's my number 4. What do you got for number 3? We're in top 3 now,
Number
man.
3, 1994, Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction.
I was going to say that The Sixth Sense was probably the most original film of the 90s.
Okay.
But then at number 3, we have Pulp Fiction. I feel this is the most original film of the 90s, possibly ever, as far as just originality and the way the movie was shot. I don't care who you are, no one understands that movie the first time they watch it. You don't realize there's 3 things.
Sometimes there's some people that still don't understand.
Sometimes there's people that still don't understand it. But the story and acting in it are top notch by all the characters. There's another Bruce Willis movie. Boy, Bruce Willis was the man back in the 90s too, because we haven't even mentioned Die Hard, like Die Hard with a Vengeance and Die Hard 2. Those are 90s movies.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, hello, John Travolta.
Yeah, exactly. Travolta.
He'd went to oblivion.
John Travolta was nothing. People had forgotten about John Travolta. And he comes in here and plays this character, and they're just like,
yeah.
Whoa.
Although I'll say this. As good as John was,
Samuel
I really
Jackson.
feel Samuel L. Jackson carried them when they were
Samuel
together.
Jackson was the better of the two.
Yeah, I mean that scene, dude, when they're in the room with the 4 guys or the 3 guys, and the way Samuel
controls the situation.
Man. I mean, and dude, he came out of nowhere.
That's a tasty burger.
Oh yeah, like when he's like, "Can I have a bite, Brad or whatever his name?"
Brad. He's like, "Can I have a taste of your tasty
he's
burger,
like,
Brad?
That's a tasty burger.
Can I have a drink of your delicious beverage, Brad?"
And just have that zoom up on his face. Yeah. Great movie. I remember the first time I remember when it came out on VHS. What is VHS? Well, VHS is a video. Blah, blah. Anyway, I remember when it came out on VHS, and I took it home. Well, I was with my grandmother at the time, and it came out in 96?
94.
94. Okay, so 95 is when I watched it for the first time. So I was a year late on that one. So I moved in with my grandmother in 95, and I took that, rented it, and I watched it, and I was like, what the heck did I just see? But now here's the thing. I had seen Reservoir Dogs before Pulp Fiction.
I hadn't either.
So I knew Tarantino was kind of doing some crazy stuff far before anybody had really gone crazy with Pulp Fiction. But I had no idea that movie was going to be as crazy as it was. And it was just like you said, it was weird, John Travolta, seeing him the way he was, and Bruce Willis, Ving Rhames.
Yes.
You hear me, hillbilly boy?
Yeah, no, I love that, man. He's like, Bruce was like, "Are we cool? Yeah, we cool."
I'm going to call some homies. I love that scene, dude.
I love it, man. I mean, the before part's not very pleasurable to watch.
And that part surprised me too, because I was like, "What the? Ving Rhames getting great?
Nothing has ever been like that put on film before."
No.
And
but that was Quentin Tarantino, man. He had no boundaries.
it's like I wrote it. It's Tarantino at his best.
I mean,
he'll never be better than
imagine him explaining that to Ving Rhames, like, okay, Ving, here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna be bent over and you're gonna be raped. You're gonna be raped big time by this gimp. This guy's gonna be in leather.
And then Bruce is gonna walk in with a samurai sword and he's gonna, cut him and whoa, wait now.
Hold on.
Go back a minute.
Hold on here. You mean to tell me some dude in some leather outfit's gonna be raping me? And
Speaking of which, Ving Rhames played a very important role in Mission Impossible.
Yes,
too. He was pretty big in the 90s.
Yeah, Ving Rhames is an awesome.
He is a good actor.
He's a little known guy that does good stuff in just about anything.
I'm glad they keep bringing him back in Mission Impossible. Just
me too.
Because he's just kind of part of the crew.
I completely agree. He's one of the original. He is the original with Tom. Yeah. Okay, so that was a really good one right there. We got like a gnat in here in my little office. Okay, so my number 3 is... All right, now, before I say it, let me just say, to me, this changed horror movies. This is a movie that... and no, it's not Blair Witch Project. But this is a movie to me that captured what slasher flicks are all about. Scream, 1996.
One of my honorable mentions, but yeah.
I mean, I love Scream. I went to the theater and seen it. The entire movie, Joey, you're going, oh, no, it's him. Oh, it's definitely him.
I still remember at the old Highland 2, or Highland Twin, it didn't even have 10 theaters then, at the old theater here in Cookeville. I remember where I sat at in the main theater. I was over on the right side.
That's when you know it's a good movie.
Back, about almost to the back. I remember where we sat at, me and my buddies, because we got there and it was packed.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that was great.
I know. I mean, and like I said, the whole movie I'm going, okay, no, we know it's her. No, you can tell by the way. See how, and man, Wes Craven nailed that. How he'd leave the camera on somebody just a little bit too longer so you'd catch their reaction. So you go, oh, did you see what they did there? That's... Like, because you even think, okay, it's the sheriff. No, it's Dewey. No, it's Courtney Cox. No, it's, and you're like, man, who is it? And that ending was great. The rest of the movie sucked. But Scream 1, to me, Wes Craven had, kind of disappeared, after Nightmare on Elm Streets and stuff. And don't get me wrong, I mean, he has other good movies. But to me, that was just brought back the old 80s slasher flicks.
Yeah, and see, that's never been a genre that I've ever cared for. But that Scream was just different.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because it just had some big name stars in it. And it just felt different than the old 80s movies that usually had a bunch of nobodies in them. And maybe they were nobodies at that time.
They'd always have like Jamie Lee Curtis and that's it.
Yeah, or it wasn't like Johnny Depp in one of the Halloween movies.
No, he was in the original Nightmare on Elm Street.
That's right, he's in Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, yeah, I knew that was. I haven't seen it in years. So.
Yeah, I watched it a couple months ago and I was like, wow, man, like there's no way Johnny Depp would do Nightmare on Elm Street.
No one knew who he was.
I think that was his first movie though. I believe
very possibly could.
Okay, so that was my number 3, Scream, 1996. All right, Joey, number 2.
Number 2, this movie came out in 1999, and again, guys, I mean, when I get to these movies mean something. This is a total game changer in the way movies are made, and it's The Matrix.
Oh.
I mean, The Matrix totally reinvented the way movies are made, period, and it is the best sci-fi movie of the decade, and probably one of the best science fiction movies ever made, top 5.
Yeah,
I mean, because it is science fiction. I mean,
definitely.
Obviously.
I'd even say top 3.
Yeah, top 3. Keanu Reeves was an established actor at that time. I mean, but nobody knew what he said their name, the Wachowski brothers or sisters now or whatever.
Yeah, they're both women now. Yeah, Lara, I think is one of them or whatever. But dude, Carrie Ann Moss
was so. And that leather, man. And you know what? I read a little cool thing about The Matrix the other day. they couldn't get anybody to fund the movie. No studio would want it.
Yeah, but
So
can you imagine the funds?
all the movie they had, all the money they had, they pulled up to shoot that opening scene with Carrie Ann Moss. And then they showed that to the studios, and the studios were like, okay, how much do you need?
Yeah, wow.
How much will it cost to get this?
And that started a huge trend in Bullet. The whole bullet shooting.
Just
thing.
the slow motion seeing.
They call it bullet filming or something,
Yeah,
bullet
something like
filmmaking,
But
I mean, nobody ever seen anything like that, man. That was on another level. I mean, when he's on top of the balcony and he's getting shot at and he does that lean backwards.
yes. Or when he catches the helicopter and wraps it around and then the helicopter hits the buildings and you see it warp the space around it.
Or like you said in the beginning scene, when Carrie Ann Moss jumps in the air and there's a 360, nobody had ever done anything.
No one had
like
ever done
that.
anything like that before, ever.
And hey, props to the Wachowskis.
I don't like the next two
brothers,
that much, but
whatever. But I mean, I like 2 okay.
2's okay, but 3
But
just
they
was-
started getting very video game-ish.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't have the technology to do what they wanted to do, but 1 captured what they wanted to do.
Absolutely. They should have just left it at 1.
Left it at 1, but they can't do it. They gotta make money. Okay, so that was a great number 2. My number 2, I'm gonna say Point Break. I love Point Break. Keanu Reeves, Patrick Swayze. It's just like I said. It's like Heat. It's a guy movie. And surfing, bank robberies. Keanu Reeves not having to be like some big, huge bombshell star. He's just, he's the opposite of Bill and Ted, but he plays that kind of surfer kind of guy. But he's this, FBI guy. Man, I just love Point Break. To me, it might be my number 1 90s movie. I know it's probably sacrilegious for some people, but I just love that movie. It just resonated with me because it's a good action movie. And I cannot remember the name of the lady that directed it, but man, she did such an awesome job on that movie. So Point Break is my number 2. Joey, what's your number 1?
Number 1, I have 2 number 1s. I had to cheat.
Oh yeah, you had a tie, didn't you?
I had a tie, man, because I mean, I just can't do it. And of course, you mentioned the first one. This is number 1B. I mean, no. Did I watch this movie back when I was a kid? No, but it's in the 90s, and it's one of my favorite movies ever. And it's from the 90s. That's why it's on my list. And that's The Shawshank Redemption, 1994. Story is, I mean, it's just ultra, super captivating. I mean,
and
great.
just won our 90s contest on our
sure
Facebook
did,
channel.
yeah. I was happy to see that.
Me too. I was
I'm not going to lie, I was biased. I was hoping it would win.
Me too.
But that or Pulp Fiction is what I wanted to win the 90s movies, believe it or not. Over all of them. But it was super captivating. It had great characters. Andy and Red, you really feel for those guys. The supporting cast, I couldn't name who any of them are really, hardly, but yet you've seen them and stuff, and they just do a great job in their roles.
That one guy, he plays Death in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. He's in a bunch of movies. He's in The Green Mile as the redneck guy. He's actually a good guy in Shawshank Redemption. He's one of the fun few movies.
It's totally different.
What is it? Get Busy living or Get Busy dying? That's one of the coolest.
Get busy like dying.
Yeah, and it's a Stephen King movie.
Yes,
as well, or book. Stephen King book. Excuse me. That's amazing. Stephen King is so.
Well, that was the
awesome,
first
man.
Stephen King movie that was made that wasn't horror, and I think that's when Stephen King realized, whoa, I can do something totally different.
No, nope. Actually, I got it
before that.
Stand by Me.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, Stand by Me.
But Shawshank was one of the first blockbusters.
Yeah.
Which I don't know, Stand by Me probably was too. But
It really
regardless,
was.
Stephen King, with those movies, showed that look, guys, I don't have to make a killer clown. I don't have to make a car that kills people. I mean, I can write.
Yeah.
And he did it with Green Mile.
The Green Mile.
I mean,
the directing, storytelling is all great. It's
I can't argue with you on Shawshank. It's a really great movie. The reason I didn't put it on my list, I will say, is because it's one of my favorite movies now. But back then, I was just like,
I strayed from it just a little bit on that one, but just because I just love it so much.
Yeah,
I got to put it on my list.
I can't argue with it.
It might be the best movie of the 90s. You want me to go ahead and do my other one real quick?
Go ahead. Bring it on.
The only problem I have with making it the best movie of the 90s is because I believe that this movie is the best movie of the 90s.
It better be what I think it is.
It's Forrest Gump.
Okay, that's what I got. I got Forrest Gump too.
Yeah, so we can just end it at that. Then we'll both just talk about Forrest Gump.
That's funny that we both had a decision.
Forrest Gump's the movie of the 90s, and this is what I wrote down. I put it's the movie of the decade, and of course they both came out in 94. It may be probably the best movie in the past 40 years. It's a generational movie. It's like a Casablanca type movie where you always, somebody can say a line from it like, life is like a box of chocolates, well, here's looking at you, kid, I mean,
that's
you
very true.
know what those come from,
Yeah.
I mean, or I believe this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship or whatever, I mean, that's Casablanca. I mean, people know, if you never watched the movie ever, most people know that Humphrey Bogart's probably in it. They do know that. I mean,
I didn't know that. Oh, you talking about
Casablanca?
Okay, I was like,
yeah,
I didn't know
I'm comparing it. No, he's dead. He's long dead.
I know. I was like,
but, Ingrid Bergman's in it. I mean, but it was just such a great movie. It's like the perfect movie. Forrest Gump may not be the perfect movie, but it's not far from
I think it's the perfect movie.
It's the perfect. I mean, it's if it's not perfection, it sure is awful close.
To me, the perfect movie is great story, great acting, great soundtrack, and they nail it on every single level.
It's funny. It's sad. You weep for them. You laugh at them.
Mm-hmm.
It's got tragedy.
Because this is a guy that and let's be quite honest, this is a guy that you wouldn't probably have anything to do with in real life. Forrest Gump is a guy you'd probably make fun of.
You'd go, that poor guy.
You'd laugh, or or you would say, that poor guy. I'm not saying that we'd make fun of him, but let's just be realistic how society
Well, it's like, Bear Bryant says in it, he goes, he must be the dumbest SOB alive, but he sure is fast.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how people would have looked at him.
Yeah, what's so great about that movie is they made you feel like, oh man, this guy is. He may act simple, but he's got, like he says, I may not be a smart man, but I do know what love is. Like,
yeah,
dang.
those little moments,
man.
With the character.
And Robin Wright right now, but man, she's great. Gary Sinise stole the movie almost from Tom Hanks as Lieutenant Dan. I mean,
almost. In my opinion, he deserved an Oscar for it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He should have got both of them. I mean, because they did Apollo 13 the next year, and he was great in Apollo 13 too. But that movie, I don't think there's ever going to be a movie that can top the relationship that those two had in that movie. The characters had that in that movie.
Yeah, just for them to start off with that whole disdain, like Lieutenant Dan had this disdain.
You have Forrest Gump who lives his life with blinders. He's just forging ahead. He doesn't see anything around him really. At least you don't think he does. And yet then you have this complex person like Lieutenant Dan who felt like he should have died. Mm-hmm. And like that was his destiny, and then he has to live with the fact that he didn't, and live with the guilt of surviving the war.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he really does, and
not just surviving the war as a crippled person.
I
mean, even worse.
And I mean, there's veterans today who probably deal with that same thing. And
absolutely.
It takes, but yet he forms this bond and this brother-like friendship with this man who no one else wants to have anything to do with, mm-hmm. and this man saves him.
Oh, and one of my favorite.
And that's really the movie, guys, is that he saves him and he saves Robin Wright Penn's character. Yeah. He saves both of them. I mean, from their path of despair.
Yeah.
He doesn't even realize it.
Yeah.
He's just being himself.
I think one of my favorite scenes in Forrest Gump, since this is both of them, I want to talk about it for a second, is I love when Lieutenant Dan and them take the girls back up to their room. And she's like, what are you, stupid or something? And like Lieutenant Dan's like...
That's when you first see that Lieutenant Dan respects Forrest.
Yes, exactly.
That was the first time.
Don't you call him stupid? You're like, wait a minute.
Whoa, I didn't think he liked him that much.
I know.
And now they gave you
yeah.
the Congressional Medal of Honor.
Oh, and when he meets the president, he's like... And I got him, or he's like, what do you say? And I got to meet the president again.
I love it. He says, I got to meet the president for being on the All-American College Football team.
But I'll tell you what.
I must have had me about 15 Dr. Peppers.
What I love about that movie, and this is why I'm going to get deep here, folks. Okay, and Joey may completely disagree with me. What I love about that movie, what I love about Forrest Gump is, at the end of the day, Forrest did all these amazing things, and they meant nothing to him. You know what I mean? Nothing to him. We all strive to get all these things in our life, to meet the president, to get on a football team, to do all these things.
He becomes super wealthy.
Yeah, I mean,
he's super wealthy,
and none of that means nothing to him.
At the end of the day, all he cared about, in my opinion, was that his friend was happy. The joy you can see when Lieutenant Dan shows up and he's got new legs.
Yeah,
he got new legs.
Yeah.
And he's getting married.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Lieutenant Dan.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's so happy for Lieutenant Dan, even though Lieutenant Dan's come there for him.
Yeah.
But yet you see his joy for him.
Yeah.
And then, you know, after Jenny dies, you know, he wanted to marry her, even though he knew that she was sick.
Yeah.
And Little Forrest, all he cared about was just taking care of her in Little Forrest.
Now, by the way, Sixth Sense. Haley Joel
Osment. And that's it. And that's all that meant anything to me. And in real life, guys, that's really all it boils down to.
Yeah.
It's just take care of those you love and
Exactly
care for, no matter what else is going on around
It's
you.
such a great movie, and if you don't understand the greatness of it, then we just can't explain it to you. You just don't get it.
I've never met anybody that didn't like Forrest Gump.
I've met a few people actually that did not like the movie, and I think they had to have been communist. But
I'd probably slap them if somebody told me they didn't. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying they have to love the movie, but you don't like Forrest Gump? How do you not like Forrest Gump?
That's a Colin Kaepernick. That sounds like a movie he'd hate. I'm sorry, I was just kidding. All right, guys. So Joey, this is our top 10 movies of the 90s for us. Let's go through your list one more time there, and what you got?
Just do the top 10.
Yeah, do your top 10 one more time.
From 10 to 1, Jurassic Park, Armageddon, Independence Day at number 8, Dumb and Dumber, Apollo 13. Number 5, I have Mission Impossible. Then The Sixth Sense, Pulp Fiction. Number 2, The Matrix, and then, like I said, 1B and 1A is Shawshank Redemption and Forrest Gump.
Excellent list, Joey. I'm going to go ahead and go through mine in no particular order. The Truman Show, Tombstone, Forrest Gump, Point Break, Scream, Toy Story, A Few Good Men, Ace Ventura, Heat, A River Runs Through It. Man, it's hard to believe that these movies are like 16 years ago, 20 years ago.
Makes you feel old.
I know. I hear you, man. But I really enjoyed this episode.
Hey, real quick, you have any honorable mentions you want to mention real quick?
Yeah, actually, you're right.
Just
run
through them real quick.
No, I forgot about honorable mentions. Goodfellas.
Great, that's one of mine.
Goodfellas is
so
on
I'm
there.
I'm going to mark that one off.
I'm going to blow your mind with this one, but this was a movie to me that changed my thought on how I seen things, Boys in the Hood.
I didn't put that on there because
Boys in the Hood was a movie that, to the white mainstream people that had no idea what was going on, like when you saw that movie, you thought, man, this is what's going on. Like, oh my gosh, I had no idea what's going on in these neighborhoods.
Yeah.
I love Boys in the Hood because it's a movie that man, you see kids that are going through this at like 17 and 18, losing their best friends and dealing with the pressures of sex and drugs, alcohol, whatever, gang banging. You know, to me, Boys in the Hood is just a really, really underrated movie. John Singleton, great movie.
Oh, absolutely.
I did throw The Matrix on there, Shawshank. My other two that you didn't mention that I'm going to throw from my honorable mentions, The Crow. I love Brandon Lee in The Crow. I think it's such a movie that captured the music of the generation. It made Gothic cool. And they made a movie with the guy that they lost halfway through. They still put the movie out there.
Yeah. And it was actually all right. I mean,
and it was actually a great movie to me. My last one, and to me, this is probably one of my top 3 acting movies of all time, Good Will Hunting. I love Robin Williams and Matt Damon in this movie. Good Will Hunting.
That one as well.
Yeah, Good Will Hunting, man. Robin Williams, the reason I love this movie so much is because he plays this guy who had been through so much when he was young and did all these crazy things. And now he's speaking from experience, trying to explain to this kid. And you believe Robin Williams, like, this is Robin Williams reformed, you know, because he stopped doing drugs and I guess he was going through rehab, you know, for so many years.
He's trying to live a better life.
Yeah, he really was. And so you just get the feeling that this is Robin Williams also speaking to this character here. So I love Good Will Hunting. And that is one of the few movies that I can still watch it. And it makes me chop some onions there. Okay, Joey.
I love that family's driving down the highway going to her, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, it's a good movie.
Great movie, yeah.
All right, so I did have Goodfellas. I'm going to name a couple off real quick that
Okay,
I marked out. But I had Scream, Few Good Men, Goodfellas. We talked about Reservoir Dogs. But
good ensemble movie.
Yes.
Good ensemble movie.
But the other ones I have on here we didn't talk about tonight. Well, we did mention Silence of the Lambs, but it is on mine.
Yeah, and Adriana mentioned that as well.
That's a great movie. Love that movie. Saving Private Ryan.
I know. And I wanted to, but I couldn't put it on the list.
Me neither. Fight Club. You know,
I've never been a big Fight Club fan.
I had to watch Fight Club several times before I started enjoying it, and now I actually enjoy watching Fight Club.
And I like Edward Norton better than I do Brad Pitt in that movie.
Yeah, I know. Well, they're the same guy.
Oh, let me throw this on my list real quick. Sorry, you're gonna miss American History X.
I was going to put that one on here, but
man. Edward Norton in that movie should have been nominated for an Oscar.
It's tough to watch, man.
It is, man. It's
tough to watch.
It's a deep movie. I mean,
you
it's like Boys in the Hood.
You have it's the other version.
It's a whole other version of it. It's true.
Seven, love Seven.
Yep, Kevin Spacey, man, at his finest,
and Brad Pitt, and Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
You mentioned this earlier, the Blair Witch Project. Just because it just made movies different.
Shaky cam movies.
It was different.
It started it.
You really believed it. I remember the funniest part about the Blair Witch Project.
Everybody
is that I took my buddy home. We drove to the movies, and I took him to the house. And his house was like back in the woods at his parents'. And he was like, "No, man, leave the lights on until I get to the door." And I was like, "Okay." And so as soon as he got to his sidewalk, I just flipped my lights off and pulled off. And all I see is him running and falling and tumbling. And then he calls me and the next day and says a few choice words. And I'm laughing.
Please don't do that.
And he was like, "Man, I heard something in the woods." So anyway, I have a fond memory of that.
Like I said, it changed horror movies.
Absolutely.
Shaky cams brought them on.
Shaky cams. Braveheart. We didn't even talk about Braveheart.
I know, it's a classic.
Classic. Dances with Wolves.
It made my close to top 10.
It was like a number 11 or 12 for me.
It always loses me in the last quarter of the movie. It gets
so
slow.
Long, man.
I know, it gets so slow.
The only thing I have against it. Dazed and Confused.
Dazed and Confused.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah. Oh gosh, forgot about Groundhog Day.
I forgot about it. It's
easy. Phil Collins.
Yeah. Star Wars Episode 1, and this is why I have it on my list.
That's fine.
Because it gave us Star Wars back.
Yeah.
It brought it back from the dead.
I agree. 99, right?
Yes, I hate Star Wars Episode 1. I absolutely despise that
movie.
movie.
Darth Maul.
Oh, Darth Maul's a cool character, but the rest of the movie is garbage. But back then, it was really awesome. Just because it was Star Wars and
dude,
didn't see
the
Star
hype
Wars.
that was on that movie, my gosh,
it was a nightmare to even get to go watch it.
I seen it 3 times in the theater just because I wanted to say I seen.
I watched it 2 or 3 times myself.
Yeah.
L.A. Confidential.
Oh, another good,
great movie.
Dude,
it's Academy Award winning movie.
Guy Pearce,
yes.
Russell Crowe,
Kim Basinger, Kevin Spacey.
Love
that movie.
Really good one. Good job.
True Lies.
Yeah,
well, that's a fun movie.
Yeah, it is.
James
good,
Cameron, Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's actually the only Arnold Schwarzenegger movie I can actually watch over and over again.
Predator? You don't like Predator?
I'm not a big Predator fan either. I don't like Arnold. I never have. And then finally, I'll just end it with this one just because I'm a James Bond fan. Golden Eye.
Oh yeah, Pierce Brosnan, right? That one is his first one.
The very first one, and it reintroduced us a few years later to a newer James Bond type movie.
Yeah,
I was going to put The Rock on here as well, and I'll go ahead and mention that. One cool thing about The Rock is I always wondered, and I actually read this a while back, but I really did wonder this a long time ago. Is Sean Connery just playing James Bond as an older version, but James Bond was just his code name?
That's true.
Because he's a British spy who was just forgotten about after his use was over with and thrown in prison. And he's like this really bad, you-know-what. Is he like James Bond?
Or is he Dr. Jones?
Ooh. Dr. Jones.
Junior. All right, guys, this was a fun episode. I really enjoyed this, Joe. We need to do an 80s one at some point. That'll be a really good one that's coming up. We can do that. But we really enjoyed doing this episode. Joey, is there anything you want to say before we wrap it up?
I'm ready to go to bed.
I hear you. Me too. We're late on a school night here for a work night, but it's good to record with you again, Joey, and we'll try to be more consistent on that. We're going to try to work a little harder on getting these things done now that Joey's able to do it with his work, and maybe I can get a little bit more free time on my schedule as well. Guys, thanks so much for the support, and also make sure to continue. You know what? We're going to promote Countdown to Geek Town. They're big time now. Maybe they need to promote. What are we even promoting them for? They're way bigger than us.
I know. How do we get on that list? Can we be like number 78 or something? I'm a little jealous.
Maybe we were 79, actually.
We might have been 79. I need to call somebody Reddit.
You know what? We were an honorable mention.
Yeah, I want to ask them, how much did they pay you to get at 22?
Hey, by the way,
I want to pay half that to get at number 64.
That's true. Hey, congratulations. You guys need to check out Countdown to Geek Town if you haven't already, but I'm sure if you're listening to this, you know who those guys are. Continue to support them. Check those guys out Check out Two Dead Chicks as well. There's a podcast with The Walking Dead. I know they're really excited about The Walking Dead starting up soon. We're really excited about The Walking Dead starting up soon.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right, guys. I'm Anthony.
I'm Joey.
Hey, guys, take care, and we'll talk to you next time.
Stay nerdy.